Hello, welcome to Priory Paddock. We've reached midsummer now, or at least we've reached the longest day, and the effect here in the paddock has been that we have now reached the point where the growth in the paddock is such that you can't see the paddock for the standing at the bottom of the path by the interpretation board and looking around. The most obvious thing to be noted is the fact that the grass is tall. The grass is probably in some places 5 feet tall at the moment, and are flowering well. Grasses are difficult to tell apart most of the year, but at this time of the year when they're in flower, it is possible to distinguish one or two of the more obvious differences, different varieties. And looking around, I can see the very, very delicate, pale flower heads on very, very thin, shiny, dark green stalks, which are the hallmark of the meadow grasses. There are a number of different meadow grasses. They're all difficult to tell apart, but in general they all have this very feathery appearance to the individual little sets of flowers, and this thin, shiny, dark green stem. The even more obvious than that are the cocksfoot grasses. They have heavy flowers gathered in more or less triangular arrangements at the top of a very tall stalk, and the clumps spread out so that the flower head as a whole, the head of the grass as a whole, looks very much like the imprint of a cock's foot in mud. There's a tall plant as well, tall, straight, stiff-stemmed grass with knees, if you like, in the middle of the stem, the nodes in the stem, a bit like a bamboo, and they're quite tall. And this is couch grass, which is the bane of every gardener in the village. At the bottom of the paddock and looking around, I can see flowers in amongst the grasses. I can see the bright blue of the alkanet flowers. They've been flowering since late spring, really, and the four petals, rather tatty looking yellow 4-petal flowers of the great celandine, and we have white, pale green leaves with white comfrey. That's white comfrey, and near it we've also got a rather bigger plant, stiffer, hairier plant, with purple flowers, and the same shape, bell-shaped flowers, clusters of bell-shaped flowers. And this is Russian comfrey. I believe it was introduced originally as a fodder crop, but it escaped from the fields and can be found growing wild all through the village now. And these two are beloved of the bumblebees and other bees that we have in the paddock, including the red-tailed bumblebees and white-tailed bumblebees, and a ginger bumblebee, which I believe is called the carder, because it collects bits of wool and fluff to line its nest with. To the right of the interpretation board by the wall here, I can see a mallow plant, common mallow, with large 5-petaled, rich pink flowers with darker stripes down the centre of each of the 5 petals, and near it a much smaller pink flower, again with 5 petals and again with lines down it, but the small one is Herb Robert, and often has red stems to the plant, and that's a crane. This is a cranesbill, one of the true geraniums, and looking around, I can see a little bit further along a much larger member of the cranesbill family, and this is meadow cranesbill. It has beautiful pale blue lilac-y leaves, lilac-y petals, 5 petals again, lined bound petals, and the seed pods, when the flowers set, the seed pods have a pronounced beak, and look exactly like the head of a heron or something similar. So it's quite clear as to how this group family became known as the cranesbills. Just to the interpretation board, there's a bush, a small tree really now, I suppose, which had white flowers on it, and now has berries which are just beginning to form and fill up. And I can see more on a similar bush a little bit further along, and this is Guelder rose. Almost all the flowers are finished on the trees and shrubs in the paddock now, except for the alder, and there are quite a good show of alder flowers on the alder trees at the moment. But the Guelder rose, as I say, the Guelder rose, the flowers have gone, the fruit is set, the berries are starting to fill up, and even already to start to turn red in some cases. Underneath the Guelder rose here, I can see the rather pale brown and curious seed pods of yellow rattle. This is a semi-parasitic plant. It gets some of its nutrient from the grasses amongst which it grows. It has yellow flowers, and then when the seed sets, it forms these rather bladder-like seed pods which dry out, and when the pod is dry, the seeds rattle inside the pod in the wind. There's the yellow flowers of bird's foot trefoil here as well. This is a popular plant with the insects, and it's a food plant for the caterpillars of the common blue butterfly. Moving along further on the left, in amongst the grass, I can see the purple spikes, the straight, rather stripy stems, and pale green furry leaves, looking a bit like nettle leaves, but without the stings of hedge woundwort. There are clusters of flowers on near the tips of the rushes in this clump of rushes here as well. Very shiny rushes with brown clusters of. In some cases, they're already opening. They're into sprays of brown flowers near the tips of the rush stems. Coming further up the paddock, I can see a lot more of the Russian comfrey and a lot of nice big oxeye daisies. They're doing side of the wall here, and quite a bit of meadow cranesbill, as I said before. There's quite a lot of that, and in the pond itself, some small small blue flowers. This is water forget-me-not. It's looks exactly like the ordinary forget-me-nots, but it's larger. And lastly, I can see, just beginning to open, some meadowsweet. Well, that's what I can see at the moment. There's a lot of greenery because there's a lot of plants that are getting high summer plants which are coming into full growth, but they're nowhere near flowering yet. So come back next month and we'll see how we've changed. Cheerio!